It's no secret that I love a Grand Tour, and today I'm going to show you 5 that you can buy for under £25,000 with some pretty insane performance and amazing luxury too. So let's get straight into it. Do hit the like button if you want to see more videos like this, and subscribe as well if you're one of the 77% of people that aren't subscribed to the channel. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. In the world of Grand Tourers, Aston Martin have to be considered somewhere near the top of the tree, and the DB9 is, in my opinion, one of the best looking cars the brand has produced this century. It arrived in 2004 and ran all the way through to 2016, with of course some facelifts and updates along the way, but within our price range we'll be exclusively looking at the pre-facelift models. It was a huge step forward both aesthetically and in terms of finish from the slightly less well-loved DB7, designed by Ian Callum alongside Henrik Fisker, and tested around the world to get the car handling nicely, including at the Nürburgring, which is an interesting place to be testing a luxury Grand Tourer. In terms of powertrain, these got a 5.9 litre V12 engine using 450 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.7 seconds, pretty decent for a car of its age. More importantly though, that V12 is pretty understressed, so typically it doesn't offer many issues. Instead, the things to really worry about on these are the clutches, which are pretty expensive to replace, and slightly less worrying but equally annoying, owners have complained about squeaks and rattles on the interior. I would have said the worst thing about the DB9 is its interior, but with age it's actually starting to look incredibly good. The more simplistic design by Aston has really helped it to stand the test of time. It's also worth noting that maybe I just have no taste, as pretty much every review of the car at the time was absolutely gassing up the interior. Part of the reason why these are so cheap is the production numbers and the fact that it wasn't a Bond car. I would say of the cheap Astons though, this is the one that you'll feel most like Bond in, given the look and feel. These are running around £20,000 at the bottom end, and for our 25k limit we'll be getting a 2007 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock. You may already be well versed in the Maserati Gran Turismo if you've already watched some of my previous cheap exotic car videos, as thanks to Maserati's legendary depreciation it's an easy car to throw into these kinds of videos. Well, there is a less depreciated version of the Gran Turismo which I wanted to mention in this video, the GranCabrio. Basically the Gran Turismo in convertible spec that arrived in 2010, 3 years after the coupe hit the roads. That means it didn't get the smaller 4.2 litre engine, but instead arrived with the 4.7 litre V8, putting out 453 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.7 seconds, matching the DB9. That engine is of course sourced from Ferrari, and it's the same basic block as cars like the Ferrari 458 and California. For that reason, these things sound absolutely insane, and the benefit of getting a GranCabrio is you can fully immerse yourself in that sound. What's cool about these is that unlike many other brands, this car kept the rear seats you'll find in the coupe, which made it Maserati's first ever 4-seat convertible, and those rear seats are actually usable too, and aren't just there for insurance purposes. Because of that convertible roof, Maserati sold the majority of these to the US market, and in total just under 12,000 of them were built, making them significantly rarer than the coupe. For me, the GranCabrio makes so much sense in the right climate, because the Gran Turismo is probably already known amongst car people as a cheap route into exotics, but since these are so much more rare, they give a sense of owning something out of the ordinary. These will run you around £20,000 at the bottom end, and 25k is enough for a 2011 model with 40,000 miles on it. The main complaints I could find owners mentioning were around the build quality and finish on the interior, with lots of it feeling old and flimsy. It had a couple of recalls too, and the worst problems have been related to a whining diff and leaks from the transmission. Taking third on the list we have the F13 BMW M6, which picked up where the beloved E63 V10 engined M6 left off. It came as the coupe, convertible and 4-door Grand Coupe, and personally I think the coupe is the best looking Grand Tourer of the bunch. Also, strangely, the M6 has yet to receive a successor, mostly because the following Generation 6 series never really captured the hearts and minds of most enthusiasts, becoming exclusively 4-door and not really looking anywhere near as aggressive or Grand Tourer-like. If anything, the successor to this is really the M8 Grand Tourer, but that will cost you a lot more cash. These M6s were quite heavily related to the F10 M5, sharing the same powertrain, a 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8 block, which makes 552 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.1 seconds. Pretty rapid for a car that weighs 1,850 kilos. You could also get a competition version of the M6, though sadly not within our price range, which increases the power slightly, is 0.2 seconds quicker to 60, and gets upgrades to the springs and dampers and all the rest. Thing is, if you're after a proper Grand Tourer, then why worry about having the extra features is for the track. The standard M6 is plenty aggressive enough, and that extra bit of comfort will be far more appreciated on a day-to-day and on a long, nice Grand Tour. Instead of getting a comp, then I would suggest getting a bunch of the M Performance parts, which are basically a selection of carbon fiber parts that make it look more aggressive. I always think they look good, but they work so well with the M6 in particular. To get into one, you need to spend around 19k at the bottom end, making it the cheapest car on the list, and 25k will get you a 2015 model with around 60,000 miles on the clock. There are plenty of individual known issues, but owners broadly suggest they've been pretty reliable. Instead, owners do mention that once these are out of warranty, which they are, the repair costs if something does go wrong are astronomical, which is probably what you should be most worried about. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. And let me know in the comments down below, what is the perfect pace for a Grand Tour? There are a lot of fast ones on this list. Do they need to be that fast? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just missing out on the top spot, we have the Mercedes SL63 AMG from the R231 generation, a car that has only recently really started to get down to more achievable prices. I've actually driven this car in anger on track, and I will say, despite its sporty looks compared to the other cars on this list, it's no roadster. It's a fully fledged Grand Tourer, and you definitely feel all of that 1,845 kilos when pushing it. That's not to say it doesn't handle well, of course it does, but I would much rather be cruising along the French Riviera with the roof down heading for a nice dinner overlooking the sea than smashing it around the Nürburgring, which is absolutely to its credit as a Grand Tourer. These come with a 5.5 litre twin turbocharged V8 block, which makes 563 brake horsepower, the most on this list, taking it to 60 in 4 seconds, which would be pretty fun to do with the top down. Aesthetically, the interiors are super nice on them and pretty well equipped too. The seat bolsters auto inflate, for example, to keep you locked in when driving quickly. When I pushed one, I found that despite it being rear wheel drive with all that engine weight over the front, it's definitely understeer heavy, which helps provide confidence when driving quickly, as you're less worried about the back end stepping out. I even did some drifting in one and found it strangely difficult to get the rear end out. If you want one, you'll need to spend around 21k at the bottom end, and generally they're pretty hard to find around our price range, but they are available, and I think we'll probably see more of these dropping down to within our price range as the more recent SL generation continues to grow in popularity and these older models start to get shifted. Owners are pretty positive about the reliability on these, and the main complaints seem to be around ones that haven't been used and maintained consistently, and of course the incredibly unkind miles per gallon figures. Taking the top spot on this list is the incredibly aggressive sounding Audi RS7, which is a properly unique looking Grand Tourer equipped with some great tech and materials to help carry that 1,920 kilos of weight around. This car is quite interesting because it's effectively a fastback version of the Audi RS6, and in every possible way the RS6 makes more sense. It's more practical, it's probably got more street cred and future classic potential, and it's basically just as quick and powerful. So buying the RS7 is effectively an acquired taste for those that really like fastbacks or aren't into fast estates. It comes with a 4 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, which makes 552 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.8 seconds, of course helped in being the quickest car on the list by it being all-wheel drive. Despite the relevance to the RS6, these actually look more like a bigger RS5 if anything, and they are made to be as useful on track. A lot of that performance comes from the clever electronic handling of the power, chassis and all the rest, but it does also have some cool mechanical parts like the ceramic brake discs as an option. Sadly, however, all those electrics do have two unwanted impacts on the car. One, they're known to feel a bit more vacant at the steering wheel because of how much is controlled electronically, and two, their complexity isn't helpful in the case of stuff going wrong. Mainly though, it's oil leaks, timing chain and air compressor issues that I could find owners complaining about on forums. Knowing that these do feel a bit vacant though, I would likely be looking for one that has air suspension, another expensive part to fix if it goes wrong, but it cements the fact that these are ultimately luxury Grand Tourers and will enable you to cruise along in exceptional luxury for the price. These start at around £21,000, and for 25k you'll be getting a 2014 model that's done around 90,000 miles. So there it is, 5 exotic Grand Tourers you can buy for under £25,000. Do hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Huge thanks to the patrons for their support. You guys are all for watching, and go click here to see another video on another set of cheap luxury cars.